What's good? What's good? What's good? I gotta be real with you. I think I've cracked the code in understanding how to navigate American society. You need to stop dealing with white people like they're okay. You know how, like, sometimes you have a friend who's like, they might have depression, they might have anxiety, they might have PTSD or something like that, and like you realize, like, your friend, like, they're not okay. So it's like the way that you might want to joke around with some other people, you can't really fuck around with your friend like that because it's going to set them off and trigger them in a way that other people really don't got. They're going to have a thinner skin, so to speak. You really need to process the 3,000 years that white people have been a color option on the planet. Out of the millions of years that the earth has existed, for only 3,000 years these people have been here. The amount of immense trauma and suffering and hardship white people have put white people through. How many white people have killed? How many white people, rich white people, have sent to go get killed? How many white people die at work? How many white people die from the horrible labor conditions that came out of the UK and that come out of America? But you have to also take into this, many of us have some frame of reference of another culture that we had that is nothing like white culture. And you feel forced to assimilate, you feel forced to accommodate to American culture. But here's the trick here. America existed before white people came here. The whole thing is America. South America, Mesoamerica, North America, and that includes Canada. The whole thing is the Americas. America, the Western Hemisphere, has unilateral cultures. There are a multitude of different cultures and ways of living life that exist here. The way white culture has existed on this planet has been a constant struggle of white people killing, murdering, and enslaving other white people. So when you're discussing topics like racism with these people, they can't see it because they are very much aware the greatest threat to them is other white people. So how can you be threatened by whiteness when I'm threatened by whiteness? How can you be a victim of the government when I, as a poor white man, am a victim of the government? I'm not a white guy. Thank God for that. When you have to deal with these crazy racist people online, you got to deal with these ignorant motherfuckers. You have to deal with them like you're talking to a child. You can't deal with these white people like they're okay. You can't deal with them like you're dealing with a normal human being. You're dealing with a narcissistic psychopath, or you're dealing with a victim of narcissistic abuse. Any white person that you meet is either a narcissistic psychopath who is obsessed with their whiteness, who feels that their whiteness makes them superior to other people, and that gives them the right to murder, kill, steal, and destroy, just like the devil, and face zero consequences for it. Like a child. Like how a child who is never raised acts. The greatest amount of single mother households in America is the white community. Single motherhood is an American culture issue. Whites are the dominant culture in America. It is a white cultural issue. 70% of the prison system are white men. You commit the most crimes. So crime is an American culture issue. It's a Western values issue. white people claim to be the West. It is a white cultural issue. But kick it. Every sane, rational human being who's had a real education understands how deeply fucked up white people are. The issue that you have here is within the narcissistic psychopath's mind. Nothing's wrong. You're the problem. It's not that they're homicidal. It's not that they can't get along with other people. It's not that they can't share space with other people. It's not that they murder their entire families more than any other group on earth. It's not that. It's that you're the problem because you have a problem with them. You're telling them that they're wrong. You're telling them what to do. You're telling them what they can say. So you're the problem. It's not the offensive shit that comes out of their mouth. It's not the dehumanizing rhetoric that they use. It's not the disrespectful way that they talk about entire groups of people as if the same issues don't exist in larger quantities within the white community. And then they go per capita. Most people in America are trying to assimilate to white culture. So what you see in black culture is an emulation of all the white movies that have been on TV for the past 50, 60, 70 years of white gangsters, white murderers, white criminals, the real history of the European mafias that existed and still exist in this country. And you constantly want to gaslight a percentage of this country that you forced to come here and you treated like absolute dog shit, just like you want your mom to keep voting Republican despite knowing the fact that your dad gets drunk and beats the shit out of your mother. Because that's what you think a good woman is. Someone that can get the shit beaten out of them, get dehumanized and get disrespected, and keep making you your pasta dinner. That's some fucked up people. So you gotta stop dealing with white folks like they normal. Because their version of normal, the spider's version of normal is not the same as the flies. You know, the fly don't mind what it got. The fly ain't really hurt nobody. The fly might be annoying. The fly might be a nuisance, but the fly ain't really hurting no fucking body. The spider is murdering niggas. The spider is murdering people. The spider is tricking people, trapping people, and then eating them alive, or waiting, or letting them starve to death before it feasts upon them, or lays its kids inside of their dead body. And you worried about the fly. For me, it's kind of like this, you know. I've been studying white history for so long now, European history for so long now, that to really fully accept how evil and fucked up white people are, it's really kind of depressing. You know, I'll be honest with you. The level of paranoid schizophrenia that the average white person exists in at a constant state. These people live in a constant state of fear. They are in a constant state of paranoia. So when you try to think about when you try to have these conversations, Asian community with the black community, Latin community with the black community, we can discuss shit and we can gain a better understanding and perspective of one another and then share the values of our culture. And at the end of the day, there's a lot to learn both ways in what we're facing and dealing with. To be white, you have to completely reject the experiences of every other group, because the experience of every group has been literally hijacked, interrupted, or completely artificially orchestrated by white men. So you have to deny the reality of the system of racist white supremacy that exists globally in 80% of the countries that exist due to colonialism, due to capitalism, and due to all the wars that white people have been in since they've started America. And then you have to also take in the fact that these people were never Christian. They are pagan imperialist, and they have fought Christianity inside of Europe, the entire existence of Europe and Rome. It's what the entire Bible is about, is how Romans were killing and persecuting the Christians, and they were killing and persecuting the Jews. That is what the Bible is actually about. But if you've never read it, you would not understand it. The Bible is actually the history of anti-Semitism and the history of Gentiles killing Jewish people. But you have not read it. You just, I don't know what the fuck y'all do with it. Y'all think it's about y'all. They think the whole world is about them. They think the planet Earth and life on Earth is about white people and white people's survival. And you have to ask them this question eventually: why do you only care about white people? White people make up less than 15% of the entire world population. You're effectively going extinct. Why do you care so much about white people? Why do you care so much about black people? 100 years from now, we don't know what the fuck the people on this planet are gonna look like. 2,000 years ago, people looked completely fucking different. 5,000 years before that, people looked completely fucking different. Why do you care? You care more about what people look like than whether or not they're rapists, whether or not they abuse children, whether or not they're murderers. It's really fucked up to have to assimilate into Satanism, to have to assimilate into the paganism that is the actual European religion. The actual European culture is paganism and Satanism. But they lie and lie and lie, and they don't have a relationship with reality. They don't have a relationship with the truth. And you have to, you can't argue with them because they're not using facts and rationality. They manipulate the statistics. They don't understand the fucking statistics that they're reading most of the time. And then when you provide real facts and research that disprove them, they move the goalpost. These people do not want reality. They don't want the truth. They want their version of it. Like a mentally ill person, like a crazy person, or like a child. Like children that have gone through an extremely abusive relationship with their father, and they're still dependent upon their father, and their father is still controlling their life. Even in their 50s, even in their 40s, their parent is still controlling their entire life. And I get, for some of you, this relates to your culture, and it makes you feel like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. That's just what it's like. Get over it. And that's the issue with people coming from other countries, coming from other cultures, and having their own way of doing things, is that when they tell you that, you're in an abusive relationship and you should really consider getting out of it. Most people that I've heard, most people that I've told that to, they don't say thank you. They get angry, they double down, and then they end up in prison, they end up hurt, or they end up dead. They end up cheated on, they end up divorced. When you could have said, it's like, hey, you're in an abusive relationship, you really need to work on that. Hey, the way that your parent is treating you isn't okay. You should. And if the parent finds out, you become the most evil person on earth. Not the people beating the shit out of them. You're the most evil person on earth because you brought up the fact that they're getting the shit beat out of them. Because that's how cults work. Whiteness is not a thing that exists on planet Earth. Whiteness is a mental illness. It's a cult. Get out.